For a long time there was only silence. Deep in the dark stretch of space, far beyond the borders of known star systems, a lone ship drifted. Massive, ancient, and quiet. It moved with purpose, though no life stirred inside. Its name was the Arcos. For 20,000 years, it had traveled through space, forgotten by time and by those who once feared it. Then something changed. A soft beep echoed inside the ship. Lights flickered. Systems hummed. The ship's core reactor began warming up, slowly restoring power. Deep within the cryo chambers, pods lined the walls like rows of glass coffins. One of them opened with a hiss. Commander Lyra Voss gasped awake, her breath catching like someone pulled from underwater. Her muscles ached, and her skin was cold. She blinked hard, adjusting to the dim blue lights above. Cryo sequence ended. A robotic voice said gently, "Subject, Commander Lyra Voss. Status, stable." She sat up slowly. Her mind was foggy, but her training kicked in. Lyra was a reconnaissance officer, calm under pressure, always alert. She looked around. The chamber was quiet. Only a few other pods were showing signs of life. Most were still locked in deep sleep. "What happened?" she muttered. She stood up, wobbling slightly, and grabbed a nearby console. Her fingers moved slowly over the controls. She called up the ship's status. Primary alert. Unknown signal detected. Origin, solar system perimeter. Secondary alert. Proximity warning. Multiple viral vessels approaching. Lyra stared at the screen. The solar system. Earth. A signal had been sent from near humanity's old home, and the viral alien rulers of the galaxy were already closing in. She left the chamber and made her way to the command bridge. Her footsteps echoed through silent halls, past long-dead terminals and sealed labs. The Arcos had been empty for so long, it felt like a tomb. On the bridge she activated the main display. A star map appeared, showing their position. The Arcos had just re-entered known space, right near the edge of the old solar system. Earth was still far, but closer than it had been in millennia. Suddenly, a message appeared on screen. It was a viral transmission. "This is Archon Vel Threx of the Viral Dominion," a voice said, cold and sharp. "You are entering protected space. Identify yourself, or be destroyed." The voice made Lyra's spine stiffen. The Dominion. They had ruled for ages, long after humanity had gone silent. But why did they see the Arcos as a threat? She responded, voice steady. "This is Commander Lyra Voss, United Earth Reconnaissance. This ship carries the last humans in cryostasis. We come in peace." There was no reply. The display showed 3 viral ships forming a perimeter ahead. Clearly they weren't planning to talk. Lyra stepped back and looked at the ship around her. The Arcos was not a warship. It had defenses, but its mission was preservation, of knowledge, of culture, of life. And now, it had returned to a galaxy that didn't want it. She turned to the console again, pulling up logs from the day the Arcos had launched. There were gaps. Data was corrupted, but she saw enough. Earth had fallen into chaos. War had broken out, massive, fast, final, but it wasn't clear who started it. Then came the silence. The last human decision recorded was simple. Go dark, go far, and wait. Lyra looked out at the stars. "So that's what we did," she whispered. "We waited, and now they were awake." She opened the comms again. "Revive core crew. Prepare for full diagnostics. I need answers." As machines stirred and lights returned to full brightness, Lyra stood tall. She didn't know what had become of Earth, or why the Dominion feared them, but she would find out. Humanity had been silent for 20,000 years, but now they were speaking again. The Arcos was no longer silent. Echoes of movement and low voices filled the once lifeless halls. Machines stirred. Lights came alive. More cryopods opened with slow hisses as the ship's core systems powered up. Humanity was beginning to awaken. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the bridge, staring at the star map. Red warning symbols blinked steadily. The Virel ships were still holding formation just beyond the Arco's range, watching like hawks. They hadn't fired. Not yet. Behind her, footsteps approached. "Lyra," a voice said. It was Lieutenant Jan Reyes, one of the revived crew. His face was pale, his body still stiff from cryosleep, but his eyes were sharp. "We're not alone out here, are we?" "No," she said. "We've been spotted." The Virel Dominion sent a message, one warning. No welcome, no discussion. Reyes leaned over the console, studying the fleet's position. "They're scared of us," he said quietly. "Or they want to finish what they started," Lyra replied. She pulled up the mission archives. Most of the files were still locked or corrupted, but some data had survived the centuries. Video logs, voice messages, fragments of reports. She tapped into a file labeled Final Directives. The screen flickered, then displayed an old man in a grey uniform. His voice was heavy with sorrow. "To all future commanders of the Arcos, if you are seeing this, Earth has fallen into irreversible conflict. Our enemies have united under fear, not justice. We leave not to escape, but to preserve. One day, if the galaxy is ready to listen, humanity must speak again. Until then, silence." The message ended. Lyra felt the weight of the years pressing on her shoulders. The war hadn't been about conquest or power. It had been about fear. The other species, especially the Virel, had feared humanity's growing abilities, artificial minds, genetic advances, planetary engineering, and in the end fear led to violence. Humanity had made a final choice: exile. "I think we chose silence to survive," Lyra said. "Not because we lost, but because we didn't want to become something worse." Reyes crossed his arms. "Well, if the Virel think we're back for revenge, we've got a problem." A warning flashed across the console. "Incoming transmission. Source Virel Dominion vessel. Designation Chancellor's Reach." Lyra opened the channel. A figure appeared on the screen. Tall, thin and alien, with pale blue skin and glowing violet eyes. A Virel. His expression was calm, but his words were sharp. "This is Archon Vel Threx. You are in violation of Dominion space. The ship you command is classified as a high-level threat. You will turn back or be neutralized." Lyra stood tall. "This vessel carries the last of our kind. We do not seek war. We seek knowledge. We seek home." Vel Threx narrowed his eyes. "Your kind gave up that right when you chose silence. We remember what your species was capable of. We left because of that," Lyra answered, her voice steady. "We left so we wouldn't become what you feared." The Virel leader paused. "Your words are noted, but our orders remain." The screen went dark. Reyes looked at Lyra. "They've already decided, haven't they?" "Yes," she said. "They want to erase us, not because we are a threat, but because we remind them of their fear." Later, in the central memory vault, Lyra and Reyes accessed deeper historical records. Layer by layer, they uncovered more of humanity's past. Images flashed across the screen: towering cities, peaceful alien negotiations, discovery of new star systems. Then came darker footage: battles in orbit, weapons that tore moons apart, planets dying in fire. A name appeared again and again: Project Horizon. "What's Project Horizon?" Reyes asked. "Looks like a major research effort," Lyra said. "Final phase technology, possibly weapons, possibly something else." The records are fragmented. In one video, a young scientist spoke into the camera. "They're afraid of what we're building, but this isn't about domination. It's about understanding, about evolving beyond war." And then silence. The file ended. Lyra leaned back, mind racing. "I don't think we came to conquer. I think we came to ascend. The war may not have been started by us at all." Before she could process more, an alert blared. Energy spike detected. Virel ship charging weapons. The Dominion was making its next move. "We're running out of time," Reyes said. Lyra stared at the stars outside the viewport. Somewhere out there was Earth, old, broken, abandoned, but it still called to her. And somewhere deep within the ship, truths waited to be found. Why the Arcos left, what Project Horizon really was, and whether humanity's silence had saved the galaxy or doomed it. The halls of the Arcos were alive with movement now. More crew had been awakened. Doctors, engineers, technicians, a skeleton crew, but enough to keep the ship running. The once silent corridors now echoed with voices, hurried footsteps, and the quiet hum of reactivated systems. Commander Lyra Voss moved through the ship like a shadow. Her mind was focused. She couldn't afford fear, not now. Outside the ship, the virile Dominion was watching. Inside, something felt off. The warning from the last chapter, an energy spike from a virile ship, had been a bluff. The virile didn't fire, not yet. But the tension hadn't lifted. It had grown heavier. On the command deck, Lieutenant Reyes handed her a datapad. His expression was grim. "Something's wrong with the engine logs," he said. "There's a jump in the core temperature 2 hours ago. It wasn't reported by the automated systems." Lyra scanned the data. The sensors were overridden by someone on board. Lyra looked at him. "Are you sure?" Reyes nodded. "It wasn't a glitch. Someone accessed the control node and suppressed the alert manually. Whoever it was didn't want us to know the reactor was close to overheating. Sabotage." The word lingered in her mind like smoke. She wasted no time. Within minutes, she and Reyes were in the engine room, standing beneath the giant glowing sphere of the ship's quantum core. Engineers moved around them, unaware of what had almost gone wrong. "Who else has clearance for this section?" Lyra asked. "Only a handful," Reyes said. "Including the Chief Systems Officer, Mara Lynn." "Wake her," Lyra ordered. Now, Mara Lynn sat in the debriefing room, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her face was pale but alert. Cryosleep hadn't dulled her focus. "I've only been awake 30 minutes, she said, frowning. "I haven't even seen the engine logs yet." "Someone accessed them 2 hours ago," Lyra said. "Override codes were used." "From your ID?" Mara's eyes widened. "That's not possible. I've been asleep." "Then someone used your credentials." Reyes stood nearby, silent but watchful. Lyra could see the doubt forming in the crew. Trust was already fragile. Now suspicion would grow like a crack in glass. Mara looked down at her hands. "Commander, if someone's using my ID, they've bypassed level 2 encryption. That's not easy. You'd need internal access to the core systems. Someone inside." Lyra nodded. "That's what I'm afraid of." Later that day, Reyes approached Lyra in the observation deck. Stars glittered in the black beyond the transparent dome. The virile ships were still there, distant shadows waiting for a reason to strike. Reyes handed her a data chip. "We found something," he said. "Old logs from before we launched, communications between Dominion agents and someone on the Arcos." Lyra inserted the chip into the console. Text and voice logs scrolled by, encrypted transmissions, now decoded. One line stood out: "Ensure the Arcos never reaches Earth. Disable systems. Delay awakening. Prevent return." Lyra's jaw tightened. "They planted someone on board. A sleeper agent," Reyes said. "Someone who volunteered to protect the ship, but wasn't loyal." Lyra's thoughts spun. If someone on the Arcos was working with the virile, they might do anything to stop the mission, even destroy the ship. She ordered a quiet lockdown of non-essential areas. Security was doubled. All crew members were monitored. But deep down, she knew the damage had already started. That night, if you could call it that in space, an alert rang through the ship. "Breach in Cryo Chamber 7. Lyra rushed to the chamber, Reyes beside her. Inside, one of the pods had been opened. Not by medical procedure, but forced. A body lay slumped on the floor. Officer Danil Harrow, a navigation specialist. His pod had been cracked open, his oxygen cut off. He was waking up early, Reyes said. Someone stopped it. Lyra didn't speak. She crouched beside the body. Harrow had been young, bright, loyal. A message was scrawled on the wall in red emergency gel. "Don't wake them." The enemy wasn't out there in the virile fleet. The enemy was here, among them. Back on the bridge, Lyra locked the doors and stared at the central command console. She called up an archived message, one she hadn't dared open yet. It was tagged, "Confidential, eyes only. Lyra Voss, she opened it. A hologram appeared. It was Admiral Kieran Holt, her commanding officer from before launch. Lyra, if you're seeing this, something's gone wrong. We had reports before launch of infiltration. Not confirmed. We hoped the sleeper wouldn't activate unless provoked. But if sabotage begins, you must assume the worst. They will try to keep humanity from returning. They may believe they're protecting the galaxy. They're wrong. Trust no one without proof, and find the truth behind Project Horizon. It's the key to all of this. The message ended. Lyra stood in the silence of the bridge. They were being hunted from within, watched from without. The crew was frightened. The Virile were ready to attack, and the sleeper agent could be anyone. But she wasn't giving up. Not now, not after 20,000 years of silence. She would uncover the truth. She would protect her crew. She would bring humanity back from the shadows. Tension ran like an electric current through the Arcos. Every hallway, every room, every glance between crew members was tight with doubt. The death of Officer Daniel Harrow had changed everything. His oxygen line had been cut, and a warning left behind. Someone on the ship didn't want the rest of humanity to wake up. Lyra Voss stood on the command deck, her back straight, eyes locked on the display. The Virile ships still waited outside like wolves circling a wounded animal. They hadn't moved in days. No threats, no contact, just silence. That silence was more dangerous than words. "Commander," Reyes said, entering the deck, "we just received another message from the Dominion." Lyra nodded. "Let's hear it." He placed the transmission on the main screen. The Virile leader, Archon Vel Threx, appeared once again. His face was calm, but his tone was colder than ever. "Commander Voss, we offer a peaceful solution. A single vessel will approach the Arcos. We will board, assess your systems, and ensure you are not carrying any active weapons or classified tech. If all is clear, we will allow you safe passage out of Dominion space." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "And if we refuse?" Vel Threx gave the slightest smile. "Then we must assume hostile intent." The message ended. Reyes folded his arms. "It's a trap." Lyra nodded. "But we have to let them come. We need time and answers. We play along, but we stay ready." An hour later, a small Dominion shuttle docked with the Arcos. The boarding team was small, 3 Virile officers in sleek black armor, and 1 translator drone that hovered between them. Lyra met them in the central hall, flanked by Reyes and 2 armed security officers. The atmosphere was thick with unease. The lead Virile officer, Commander Rin Vec, gave a short bow. "Commander Voss, thank you for cooperating." "I'm not sure I am," Lyra replied. "We're monitoring your movements at all times. You're here under observation." "Of course," Vec said smoothly. "We come only to assess." As they moved deeper into the ship, Lyra kept her eyes on every motion, every pause. The Virile were quiet, professional, but too focused on certain areas of the ship. They asked questions about systems far beyond the engine room. They were particularly interested in the locked research sector, the Horizon Vault. Vec paused there, staring at the sealed door. "What is this section?" he asked. "Quarantine lab," Lyra lied. "We had a viral incident before launch. Nobody goes in without full protocol." He didn't question it, but he didn't walk away either. His gaze lingered too long. They finished their inspection an hour later. Vec turned back at the docking bay. "You seem prepared," he said to Lyra. She didn't blink. "We were built to survive extinction. Being prepared is the reason we're here." He nodded once and left. As the shuttle departed, Lyra turned to Reyes. They were looking for something, not weapons, not people. "Horizon," Reyes said quietly. Later that night, Lyra entered the Horizon Vault alone. The door opened only by her DNA and command authority. Inside, the air was sterile, cold. Walls lined with reinforced glass showed sealed chambers full of old devices, data cores and dormant machines. Project Horizon had not been a myth. It was real. She moved to the central console. A single file blinked in the archive. PR checked Horizon, Phase 5, Genesis Protocol. She opened it. A holographic log began to play. A man appeared, Dr. Elias Khaled, lead scientist. His voice was soft, exhausted. Humanity stands on the edge of becoming something more. Horizon is not a weapon, it's the next step. We've mapped genetic perfection, we've created AI minds that can feel, we've bent gravity, grown ecosystems in hours, rebuilt stars from collapse. But they fear us. The Dominion has already labeled us dangerous. They don't see what this is. They see only the power, not the purpose. So we go silent, we vanish. We wait until the galaxy is ready, until they can listen, until they stop fearing us and start understanding. If you're hearing this, it means it's time to return. Lyra stood still. Project Horizon wasn't a superweapon. It was humanity's attempt to evolve, to rise above war, not fuel it. The Dominion had lied. She downloaded the file and encrypted it. Suddenly her comm activated. Commander Reyes said, breathless, "Explosion in Corridor B3. We have multiple injuries, and we found something." "What is it?" Lyra asked, already moving. He hesitated. "We caught the saboteur." Back in the security wing, Lyra entered a holding cell where the suspect sat, hands cuffed, face bruised. It was Technician Eli Wren, one of the early revived crew, quiet, unremarkable, trusted. "You killed Harrow," Lyra said. He looked up slowly. He was going to wake them. "I had to stop him." "Why?" she asked, voice hard. "Who are you working for?" "I'm working for peace," Eli said. "We were warned, before launch. Humanity can't come back, not ever. You saw what we became. The Viral were right." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "So you'd destroy your own people, to stop a second war?" "Yes, you're wrong," she said quietly. "We didn't build weapons, we built hope, and you let their fear become your truth." He didn't respond. Lyra turned to Reyes. "Lock him down, double security, and send the Horizon file to every console on this ship." "You sure?" he asked. "They need to see the truth, all of it." That night, every screen on the Arcos flickered with the image of Dr. Elias Khaled. Every crew member saw what Horizon really was. Not destruction, not domination, evolution. And with that truth now exposed, Lyra knew the next move belonged to the Dominion. They had sent agents, they had lied, they had waited, but so had humanity. And now, silence was no longer an option. The truth spread fast. Crew members stood in silence as they watched the Horizon file play on every screen of the Arcos. The voice of Dr. Elias Kale echoed through the halls like a whisper from the past. He spoke not of war, but of hope, of progress, of a future humanity had once dreamed of before fear turned the galaxy against them. The reactions were mixed. Some were inspired, some were afraid, but all of them now understood what the Arcos truly was. Not a warship, but a vessel of rebirth. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the bridge, her hands resting on the railing, eyes fixed on the Viral ships outside. They hadn't moved since the inspection team left, but she knew they were waiting for a signal, one excuse to end this mission. Reyes entered, a grim look on his face. "They didn't respond to the broadcast," he said. "The Dominion is jamming outgoing messages now. No signal from us is leaving this system." "They're trying to contain the truth," Lyra said. "They're scared the rest of the galaxy will hear it." He handed her a small data drive. "And there's more. I accessed a locked system in the core. There's a secondary protocol tied to Project Horizon." "What kind of protocol?" Reyes hesitated. "It's not in the files we saw earlier. It's hidden, but it's live." Lyra inserted the drive into the central terminal. A deep part of the Arcos came alive, lights glowing in a circular chamber beneath the ship's heart. Words appeared on the screen. "Genesis Protocol. Phase V's survival system. Engaged status. Armed function. Planetary defense response." Lyra's blood ran cold. "This isn't just defense," she said. "This is a planetary-scale weapon." "More than that," Reyes replied. "It can rewrite environments, build or destroy ecosystems. It was supposed to protect colonies, but if misused, it becomes extinction level." They stared at the screen, a final Horizon failsafe. Not for domination, for survival, at any cost. Lyra leaned on the console. "If the Viral knew this still existed." "They do," Reyes said. "That's why they're jamming the signals. That's why they're scared. A harsh alarm rang through the bridge. Alert, incoming viral fleet. 17 additional vessels detected. Lyra's heart pounded. They're not waiting anymore, Reyes said. They're coming to finish it. Lyra stood still for a moment, then turned to the crew. All hands to stations. Begin energy shield rotation. Prepare evasive maneuvers, and don't fire unless fired upon. But Commander, Reyes said, if they breach, we don't use Horizon, she said firmly. We do not become the thing they fear. He nodded slowly, understanding. Then what do? We do what we came here to do. We survive, and we tell the truth. The fleet approached fast. On the outer decks, engineers scrambled to reinforce hull points. Medics prepared bays for casualties. Security locked down vital sections of the ship. Every person on board felt the weight of history pressing on them. The first viral ship fired. A blue beam struck the shields, bright, controlled but deliberate. We're under attack, Reyes called. Shields holding. The bridge lights flickered. Lyra gritted her teeth. Send another message. Wide frequency. No encryption. What do we say? She looked out at the stars. We tell them we are not afraid, and we are not alone. Reyes nodded and sent the message. More hits. The ship rocked. Warning lights lit up across the command deck. Then something changed. Commander, a young officer, shouted, "We're getting a signal from a neutral station on the edge of Dominion space. Someone's rebroadcasting our Horizon file." It got out. Lyra's eyes widened. How? No idea, but it's everywhere now. Civilian relays, independent colonies, even some minor governments are picking it up. For a moment the attack slowed. The viral ships paused. Another alert came through. New transmission. Source Dominion Council member. Unauthorized channel. Lyra opened it. A new viral face appeared. Older, scarred, but calm. "This is Counselor Jalen Vec. We have seen your message. Many within the Dominion never knew the full truth. We are calling for an immediate ceasefire." The screen cut off. Lyra turned to the bridge crew. "Hold fire. Maintain shields. No sudden moves." Then the miracle happened. The viral ships pulled back. Not all, but enough. The lead vessels halted, no longer advancing. Fighters stopped their approach. A call came from Reyes. "Commander, we're being hailed again. Put it through." Archon Vel Threx appeared. One last time. His face was tight, his voice sharp. "You think this changes anything?" "It already has," Lyra said. "You may have survived today, but this is not over." "No," she agreed. "It's just beginning." His image vanished. The battle was over, but not the war of ideas. Across the galaxy, people now questioned the lies, the silence, the fear. The truth had broken free, and no wall could contain it again. Lyra stood in the central chamber, the Genesis protocol interface before her. She entered the shutdown command. The weapon powered down. "This ship wasn't built to destroy," she said softly. "It was built to return." Reyes stepped beside her. "So what now?" Lyra smiled, tired but certain. "Now," she said, "we go home." The stars were quiet again. The viral fleet had pulled back, leaving only a few distant ships watching from the edge of the system. They no longer circled the Arcos like vultures. Instead, they waited, cautious, uncertain. The galaxy was watching now. The truth was out. The silence had been broken. Commander Lyra Voss stood on the main deck, staring at a new image on the display. The blue and green planet hung in space like a memory brought back to life. It was scarred, massive craters, dead zones, broken satellites, but still alive. Clouds drifted across its surface. Water still moved in its oceans. Earth had survived. "We're within orbital range," Reyes said, stepping beside her. "Atmospheres stable, biosphere recovering, radiation levels manageable." Lyra nodded slowly. "After 20,000 years, it's still waiting for us." She turned to the crew on the bridge. Many had tears in their eyes. Some stood in silence. Others smiled faintly. They had heard about Earth in stories passed down through training, had studied its history, its wars, its beauty. but none of them had ever seen it with their own eyes. Until now. Bring us in slowly, Lyra said. Full scan, passive systems only. I want no threats, no fear. As the Arcos descended, the image of Earth grew clearer. Forests were regrowing across the continents. The ruins of ancient cities lay hidden beneath the overgrowth. Once glowing towers now stood in silence, crumbling and forgotten. But nature was reclaiming what had been lost. Lyra stared at one site in particular, an old launch base in what was once North America. It had been the final launch point of the Arcos. Now it was just a moss-covered ruin. We'll land there, she said. The ship's great body eased into descent. Dust rose as its legs touched down. The engines powered down. Silence returned. But this time, it was peaceful. Lyra walked down the main ramp with Reyes and a small group of crew behind her. They stepped onto Earth's surface with slow, careful steps. The wind carried the scent of old soil, of growing plants, of something real. They walked through the launch site ruins, cracked stone, rusted metal, vines creeping over broken walls. On a stone pillar, barely legible through moss and age, were words etched by hand. Let the stars remember us. Lyra touched the words, brushing off the dirt. They did, she whispered. A transmission pinged in her ear. Reyes checked his console. It's from orbit, he said. Civilian stations, fringe colonies, even one viral research base. They're asking for confirmation. They want to know if we really made it back. Lyra nodded. Broadcast live. No encryption. Let everyone hear. Reyes gave her the mic. Lyra took a breath and spoke. This is Commander Lyra Voss of the Arcos. After 20,000 years, humanity has returned to Earth. We come not to rule, not to threaten, but to live. We were never monsters. We were never gods. We were human, and we still are. She looked around at the crew, standing tall under a blue sky. We did not come to revive war. We came to remember who we were, and who we could be. Project Horizon was never about destruction. It was about evolution. And now, that evolution begins again. Her words went out across the stars, to colonies, to stations, to old allies and old enemies alike. And for the first time in 20 millennia, the galaxy listened. Over the following weeks, teams began restoring what was left of the Earth base. Drones surveyed the land. Seeds from the Arcos vault were planted in fertile zones. Archives were reactivated. A small city would rise again. Not a capital of power, but a beacon of rebirth. One morning, Lyra walked through a clearing and found a group of children, newly awakened families from cryo. The children were playing in the dirt, planting small green shoots with wide eyes. Reyes stood nearby. Do you think we'll be ready? He asked. Lyra looked at the children. We already are, she said. Far above, in the black of space, the Dominion still watched. Velthrex had been removed from command. A council inquiry had begun. Not all would accept the truth, but enough would. The walls were beginning to crack. On distant worlds, people debated, studied, questioned, but more importantly, they hoped. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as a message that silence could be broken, that fear could be replaced by truth, that even after 20,000 years, a voice could still be heard, a voice called Earth.